Deep learning. So deep learning, we have a lot of connotations with that now because of AI associated with machine learning, deep learning. This is something different. I'm talking about deep learning in education. This is a powerful thing. The idea here is that we are going beyond just the surface level of understanding. And what is the surface level? Well, unfortunately, the surface level is what most students end up getting as far as their education for a lot of different content. What that means is that they get exposure to information lots of times by lecture, and then they have to remember all of these different details, these different data points, information to be able to then pass a test that's usually A, B, C, D types of questions. The problem with that is that it's very surface level. It's very surface level. It doesn't go deep into our minds, doesn't get incorporated with other information. And we tend to lose it as soon as we finish that test. This happens a lot with different topics that only have a midterm and then a final. We go through, remember all of this different factoids, pass that test, that multiple choice test, and then that's it. We only scratch the surface of the information, it doesn't get embedded, and we don't have long-term retention. The difference between that and deep learning is that deep learning seeks to help us get a much more enriched, deep learning of the information. So that means that we know the information not just on the surface fact level, but also being able to understand some of the different components. How does this affect this? How can I gain this information, learn these different facts, but then put that together in the skill to apply it not just in this situation, not just associated with this specific test, but then also in other situations, in other scenarios. That is what deep learning really provides us. And I want to read to you what the benefits are from this article that I read, because it really highlights some of the important things, and think about what this is saying and how this applies to our world today. This comes from a discussion paper that's entitled The Why, What, and How of Deep Learning, Critical Analysis and Additional Concerns. It says the argument for teaching deep learning across all educational structures is that this mode of acquiring knowledge is the best strategy to respond to the rapidly changing modern global society, process a large quantity of incoming new information, deal with emergent new technologies, and make sense of new forms of knowledge in a complex world. Wow, that's like exactly what we need. We really need this type of understanding for multiple of different reasons. One is because it's better. The student will have deeper understanding so they can apply it in different situations, but also we are in the knowledge age, right? We're beyond that because now we're in the AI age, meaning that we have access to all of these different facts. It's not enough just to know the information. In fact, we can easily get those bits of information at any time because it's readily available to us through the internet, through AI. What we need is a deeper understanding so that we can use those facts in different situations, different scenarios. So that's what deep learning really is. Now the question comes in as to, okay, well, how can we properly teach our students in order to gain this deep understanding, this deep learning? The research that comes from this discussion paper talks about a multiple of different aspects to really think about integrating it into our teaching to ensure that we get this type of deep learning. Some of that deals with feedback, the importance of feedback. Students can't properly develop a greater, deeper understanding of anything unless we're giving them a lot of feedback. Again, now we're talking about the feedback that comes from assessments. So you see the importance of not just having the summative assessment at the very end, but having lots of different formative assessments throughout so that the student can start to understand how the different pieces go together. Also, the way that we assess really comes into play because it's a much more than just having them know those facts and being able to answer multiple choice questions. You have to ask them questions that are much more open and broader, meaning that it's open to interpretation. There could be multiple answers. So if students have to have this type of critical thinking, that's another big aspect to deeper understanding and to deep learning. having emotional connection to the content. That only comes by having a deeper understanding and seeing things such as these facts come together in this way and affect these other things. So there are different applications of the facts, being able to manipulate the facts and seeing not just how they act individually, but how they also act together in groups. Meaning, does one fact affect another fact? What happens if we can manipulate those facts within our minds within a different application? So again, you see here how it gets deeper by the way that we're asking questions, the way that we're doing assessments, continuing giving them feedback, as well as giving them opportunities to apply the information, not just to remember the content, but to actually apply it. So by going deeper with this, with the information that we're trying to teach them, then they're able to have this deeper learning. Now, the big question is, well, how can we use AI in order to really get deep learning within our students? That's a great question. And here's an example of that. So in this example, I ask the AI, I say, please act as a university level professor, an instructional designer. I just learned about the importance and key components of good active listening in my professional communication class. In class, I had to be a good active listener while interviewing a student partner during a practical exercise. Create another real world situation where I would need to use these skills. Simulate that environment so that I can apply this learned skill in that situation. Let me ask questions and then you answer, and then I reply so that I can use the skill. Give me feedback after each interaction. So the power here is that now I'm able to go deeper with my knowledge, deeper with my learning by having the AI facilitate that. I'm using rhetoric with the AI. I'm having this discussion, and through that rhetoric, I'm able to go deeper in my understanding and utilization of the skill that I learned in class. So you see how this instructor was using active learning techniques, partner up and go through this process, apply this skill. Great. But now we can go even deeper. I can come up with many different skills or many different application scenarios. Again, the AI can assist me with that by working as a simulation, and I can go through that. As the instructor, I can also use that to my advantage because I could provide them with that prompt. I could have the students go through that simulation, again, for their understanding, for their deeper learning of the content, and then they simply reply back with how did it go, a reflection paper. That's another key aspect of deeper learning. And then also by using the AI at the top right of ChatGPT, I can click on this and it can give me a link that I could then provide to an instructor that would show this is the discussion that I had. This is the deeper learning that I was developing by going through this process. It's very similar. It works in the same way with Google Bard and also Bing AI. With deep learning, there are some overlaps with transformative learning, which is really powerful because now we're affecting things like the students understanding beyond just the facts and figures, but also integrated into their own thoughts, their own beliefs, their own attitudes. And that's what we really want in order for them to really be able to grasp the topic. And then that ties back over to being able to ask the AI more advanced questions. So in the future, when they're working somewhere and they need to have that great understanding of the topic in order to ask the best type of questions, that deep learning is really going to pay off because they've made these emotional connections, because they have a deeper understanding beyond just the surface level, and because they can apply it in different situations and different scenarios. So that's the key, and that's the power of deep learning, which AI can really help us with. I hope this was beneficial. If it was, please like, subscribe, and share, because again, we want to develop this whole community of practice so that we can together develop our capabilities, our AI literacy with all of this. Thank you. And remember, learning is for life.